Hey guys, Coach Gunther here with PECO, and for this episode of Map Mastery, we're going to be taking a look at Route 66. We'll be looking at strategies seen in high-level Overwatch, and the callouts will be listed by points 1, 2, and 3. I'll be referencing these callouts over the course of the video, so hopping into it, here are the callouts for the first point. Route 66 feels very simple, but it's often categorized by this two-layer map design, where the payload throughout the entirety of this map is incredibly exposed. And it feels to me similar to some of those King of the Hill maps where it's like, you need to be winning fight first and trying to contest cart second when you're attacking, because if you're trying to contest cart first, then you're leaving yourself exposed to so many angles, which we'll be seeing time and time and time again. Additionally, this map's geometry allows for what I like to call very disconnected positioning, where you'll see your supports playing in one place and your tanks playing in another place, and then your DPS playing in like 17 different off angles. Even on, some comps like Brawl, which you would think go much more aggressive, you'll still see supports playing, very far away, and you'll still see DPS in really strong off angles, just because this map allows for that kind of stuff to be done. Starting on first point here, this is a map that rewards a very aggressive defense, or this point rewards a very aggressive defense because of its ability to recontest and how safe it is. There's a bit of this unspoken rule in high-level Overwatch that if you are on a Brawl comp and you are not spawn holding in this train car, you are doing something intrinsically wrong on this map. And even on other comps like Dive or Bunker, you'll still see teams starting close. Even if on Dive, maybe, your supports are playing up here and, you have a sniper holding over at Coast or something, you'll still, even with your supports peeking top cave, you'll still maybe have tanks jungling on cart a little bit, jumping up back into train, getting healed by your supports from cave and jungling on this position because it's so easy to defend this first point. You see so many teams holding close because of that. Even on bunker comps, you'll see people start, even just right here on payload, sometimes a little further back, but usually incredibly close because of how easy the recontest is, partially because of these long angles, but it's especially because going into the second half of first point, you can see how, even if the cart gets to here, if you're pushing payload, and I'm here under gas station, right? You can't see the people coming back. You have to rotate over to closet if you want to get closer. You have to take on top of gas station. But, if people want to come out of this bottom area, you can't contest that. If people want to come out of here, you can't contest that. If people want to come out of top, you can't contest that. The ability to recontest on this map is so strong, just because of the fact that it's so safe. So teams will play, Brawl close to spawn because even if they die, they can get another fight. And even then they can get another fight, right? It's not uncommon to see 3 fights here from the defending team, even if the defending team loses all of them. Just because of the amount of time you have to get back, you're still burning time on the clock. Bunker teams will also often play further back on gas. You hear it here at Big Earls and just poke around this corner. Maybe they'll have if there's an Orisa here, maybe they'll have a Sigma off angling up here. Or even when dive teams have to rotate back, this is some of that disconnected positioning I'm talking about, how you'll have, maybe your supports and a sniper playing up here, right? It's not uncommon to see Ana players play over here while you have people on your team here and, on top of gas and on top of cave as well. So really, it's just this point has the ability of, you have the layer the payload is on, and you have the second layer above, and that's where most of the kind of real fighting actually happens, because you need to take control of these high grounds. You need to be fighting these different people, otherwise you're going to get picked apart because of how open and exposed the payload is. So that just really comes from the distance you have being able to play on closet, play on catwalk, and how far back, even on bridge and coming back from spawn, you still have all of these angles you can peek out and, get attackers who are coming back trying to recontest if the payload moves a little further in. And going into point 2 of the map, here are the callouts. Rotating into second point, this point has a little bit of snowball potential, but it's not nearly as much as a map like Gibraltar, where if you win the first fight, you're able to take control of spaceship, and if you lose the first fight, you just kind of lose. Just like the second half of first point, this area has so many exposed places, right? There's this ground level of this is where the payload is, and then there's so much high ground to be playing around. Bridge and garage and catwalk and pub, all of these areas make it so difficult not only to get the point through if you're already on it, but hit a recontest too. This point is very characterized by matching rotations on defense. So if I'm a defending team, we see people come out of path, we rotate to watch this, or we get on top of garage and we stay on top of pub and we web that up. If it's not uncommon, if you see a team coming cave, you stuff this doorway, because the off angle to come back around through path or go under through main is just such a long walk that off angle is barely worth it. So this is a lot of the, or even if you see people come through main, right, you'll see people like stand on top of pub and just rain shots down at them. You'll see people off angle over at gas station while people are holding on pub and just rain shots on them, because it is so incredibly dangerous to make that rotation in the way you want to be making that rotation. Even if you rotate through main onto pub, you still have to make this rotation all the way around here. And yeah, you can set your damage heroes up on top of pub. You can set your damage heroes up on top of perch, but like for the most part, it's just very dangerous to go through this area, to go through hotel, to go through this mega area in that blue building, because people can web and take this area over on catwalk. They can play on top of pub on their own. They can get higher up on pub, and it just becomes so dangerous for the attacking team. This is much like you know, what I talked about with some of those King of the Hill maps. This is very much a win fight first, push cart second type of map. I feel like this point is played roughly similarly, depending, regardless of the comp that a team is on, because of how much you need to be abusing these high grounds, right? You'll see brawl teams even staying on these high grounds for a really long period of time, just trying to poke out, because of how much free sightlines you get from this. Holding on top of pub gives just like you'll see so many teams starting a fight here on top of pub at this corner with bridge, because it is just so strong for the amount of angles that you have. Being able to watch every single doorway the enemy team can come through, and being able to match that rotation based off of the distance you have to move. Recontests onto point from catwalk are often stuffed by an attacking team. Because these other two doors to recontest, the amount of time it takes for you to get to there is so incredibly long. So you'll see teams stuff on this catwalk, stuff the enemy team coming out of access, because it like it's such an easy choke to hold, right? Because just what I was saying about how you can web up the whole area, well, you can have some of your DPS playing on top of pub, you can have your some heroes over at perch, you can have people playing really, really close on catwalk here, and then you have your people on payload, right? You are able to hit the enemy team from so many angles coming out of this doorway, and sure, maybe they push out, you know, your main tank off of this area, and then they have to go back, but then what? They're getting shot at by 4 or 5 other people. So these recontests are all about like stuffing at these doorways. And finally, for the third point of this map, here are the last callouts. Third point, unlike first and second, well, okay. Third point has a lot of similarities to first and second point. The main thing is that similarly 2-level design we've been talking about. How you have this ground floor where the payload moves and it's incredibly exposed, and you have this second floor where a lot of the actual fighting needs to happen. You know, pushing people out of platform and out of storage and out of access, because the payload is still incredibly exposed here, but you still see a lot of teams swapping to brawl for this third point because of how direct it is. This is one of the few areas where, even though you're going to be hit by a lot of off angles, the off angles are close enough that you're actually able, if you're on a brawl comp, to rotate as a team to force out those off angles. So if the cart gets to here and you're on a brawl comp, right, and there's an enemy team holding on top of truck, you have that ability to amp up here very safely and very quickly because of the sight lines involved. It's not the same level of danger as trying to rotate all the way through hotel from main, and on second point, rotate up through hotel and try and get all the way around pub, right? It's not the same level of danger because of how enclosed and I would say direct third point is. There really is only one way to approach. It's still important to force people out of off-angling areas like access, like platform, but because of the fact that you regularly see team swapping to brawl comps here, you'll also sometimes see the other team swap to brawl to mirror. This is one of those points where teams will just pick brawl to mirror. Funnily, I think it's quite interesting. You will also see a lot of defending supports or DPS, even, this is some of that disconnected positioning we were talking about. Even if there's a brawl fight happening right here next to Office, you'll sometimes see an Ana playing back here, or an Ashe playing back here. Or even, an off tank holding up here while your main tank holds down here to get that off angle pressure, right? This map has that, even though this point is much more direct, this third point has that similar two-layer design that allows you to get through it in an incredibly safe, or that allows these off-angling heroes to get a lot of value, and so, teams need to either deal with those off angles or they lose the fight, much as with the rest of this map. But it is a little bit diminished here, because of the fact that Payload is going to be so close to all of these fights. This third point is very similar to like a King's Row, where it's like everything is so enclosed, everything is so tight. If you pick Brawl here, you're just in a really good place to be because you don't have to maneuver a whole lot. So that's why you'll see Dive on points like first or second, because you have all this room, and then sometimes teams will swap to Brawl. Overall, that's really all I had to cover here.